technologies to commercialization, it's going to be some of the people you're looking at today, because a lot of the people that will be involved in the development won't have the appetite for the risk when it comes to putting $1 billion down per large-scale plant that needs to be put in place. I mean, in the oil and gas business, $5, $10, $20 billion a project is not beyond what we do, as we know from the incredible investment program that PETROBRAS has at the moment. I think indeed, we agonize a bit about whether we spend enough on R&D. Shell spends about $1.2 billion a year on research and development. What Vinod may be very surprised to know is that the largest single R&D program we have in Shell is in biofuels. When we take into account our in-house research and the research that we have with partners, just as Vinod has invested in a number of technology companies, so have we. I agree with Vinod that the future may see much more direct conversion of biomass to hydrocarbons. Indeed, that's something that we work on in Shell. One of our ventures that we work with, Virent, is working on exactly that technology, as I'm sure Vinod knows. But I think that I would be a little bit different in my view about I don't see that as being in total competition to sugarcane ethanol. I think there's tremendous complementarity between the two. And frankly, if you have a position in sugar in a market like Brazil, it's great to have the optionality of putting that into ethanol or into a new molecule, diesel, or even selling it as sugar sometimes. So I think that really one of the great advantages Brazil has is a great place to grow sugar, and that's a great starting point for many other technologies.
Phil? Sorry, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to comment. You clearly are doing some things, but you don't invest in $1 billion plant in biofuels or bioplastics or biochemicals the same way you do in oil. The oil companies are very, very bold when it looks to their upstream business of E&P. They'll dig a well that has a 25% probability of being true. Only a 1 in 4 chance of it succeeding. That's wildcatting. But they don't, wildcatting for oil is very natural for oil companies. They take a lot of very bold risks. They drill 30,000 feet under the ocean. That's pretty bold. Right? But when it comes to biotechnologies, you won't see $1 billion or even $100 million spent till the technology, at least in my view, is relatively safe and low risk. But they take much larger risks on the traditional oil and gas side, and that's what I was pointing out.
Philippe or Phil? Okay, Philippe, please go ahead.
Okay. Vinod, the difficult thing is the question you raise has an answer, but the answer is maybe not today. What I would like to comment with two things. First, we have been criticized the same way on the solar business. We have started to really become serious in the solar business in 2007 when it became a strategy to grow that business. And during 4 years, a lot of people were criticizing us like, you're not taking risks, you're not bold enough, etc., etc. This year, we announced that we are putting $1.4 billion on the table and announced our intention to become one of the top 3 solar players in the world. This is just showing we are serious, but it is also showing that it takes time. You rightly say that we are bold when it deals with E&P, but it's also, we rely on a huge competence, a huge set of people, R&D people, and a lot of experience, which allow us to take risk and to know what type of risk we took. Today, in the biotech, we have the intention to do what you say. But in order to make risks and make money out of taking risks and to make the right choices, we started to build our competence. So how do we do that? We did that by starting to create an R&D division specialized on this. Now we are committed, we spent 20% of our whole R&D of the group in clean tech and sustainable issues. And maybe in 5 years from now, if I'm invited here, Vinod, you will apologize to have criticized us of lack of boldness. Phil, please.
So I was just reflecting in part that this is a conversation about risk management in your portfolio. There's one approach that says I lay off a lot of risk by just having lots of small investments across a wide range of activities. I'm not sure which one's going to win. There's going to be a survival of the fittest. And there is an extent to which I think all of us have ourselves, in a smaller scale perhaps than you have, Vinod, have practiced that as part of our efforts to try and get to terms and get a grip on which biofuels technologies or biomass technologies we think are most effective. But then I would say that from our perspective, there comes a point where if we are going to start mobilizing serious money and making serious bets, we have to take some bold choices and really say, no, actually, we appreciate that there may be other things that can work, but we're going to get behind this, and we're going to get behind it in a big way, and we're going to really hope that it works out for us. So I think there is actually quite a lot of bravery sort of behind the scenes. And to illustrate this, perhaps what I'd like to talk about is cellulosic ethanol. Now, if energy cane, and I completely agree with you, I'm a big fan of energy cane. If energy cane is going to emerge as a biofuel crop of choice in the future, and we think there is no reason why, from a fundamentals point of view, it shouldn't, then what we have realized, as we have started to invest serious money in trying to be a leader in bringing cellulosic ethanol to the United States, in conjunction with 3 or 4 other players, is that if we're going to do this based around a new crop, as opposed to simply exploiting ag waste that's already there, and therefore make the really bold choice that will unleash the scale you pointed to, Vinod, then we've got to do an amazing thing. We've got to try and transform American agriculture in a way that hasn't happened since Colonel Staley introduced the soybean to the United States in the 1920s. Not since then has a whole new crop been introduced to an established agricultural system. That is the nature of the challenge that we have chosen to take on. Sometimes I feel lonely because I look around me and I don't see many other people following the same path with the same determination and with the same size of bet that we're laying down. So, yes, we don't invest as much as we do in upstream, but there is increasing evidence that we're beginning to invest with real boldness and into some areas of real uncertainty.
Miguel?
Oi. William, eu não sei se eu entendi bem a ideia de um possível desafio ou conflito. Não me parece isso que o Vinod trabalhou, e se é isso eu não entendi. Mas a Petrobras é uma empresa, além de ser uma empresa de petróleo e energia, é uma empresa de inovação e tecnologia. Isso é o DNA dessa empresa, a Petrobras. Por isso estamos e somos vanguarda na produção de petróleo e lâminas ultraprofundas do mar. Nós somos uma grande empresa de tecnologia e de inovação. Essa é a história da Petrobras. A nossa empresa faz uma opção estratégica e cada vez mais se constitui numa grande empresa de energia. Produzimos petróleo derivados, produzimos petroquímicos e produzimos biocombustíveis. Recentemente fizemos um movimento importante na área de biocombustíveis, constituímos uma empresa que é o braço empresarial da nossa empresa. Temos associações que nos entusiasmam, 2009, 2010, com Guarani, Nova Fronteira, São Martinho, grupos de tradição de vanguarda tecnológica. E temos no nosso portfólio de investimentos um volume muito importante de recursos para a tecnologia nessa área. São 400 milhões de reais que estão sendo investidos nesse momento, no atual plano de negócio, para os investimentos na área dos biocombustíveis, nas diversas rotas, bioquímicas, termoquímicas. Pensar em tecnologia significa investir em tecnologias ambientais, cada vez mais compreendermos e qualificarmos uma análise de ciclo de vida integral na nossa capacidade de produção, nas áreas agrícolas, nas fermentações, nas rotas termoquímicas. Portanto, eu acho sim, viu, que nós temos nos posicionado de uma forma muito forte neste campo de pesquisa. O Brasil talvez tenha, assim, que atualizar sua capacidade de investimento. Isso me permite aqui este diálogo aberto de coordenação dos investimentos nessa área. Nós temos um CTC, que todos os senhores conhecem, que passa por uma fase de reestruturação importante nesse momento, que é um patrimônio que nós temos da pesquisa e do conhecimento nessa área. Nós temos universidades, empresas privadas. Se me permite a última frase, aproveitando, nós temos essa marca, e nós não temos nenhuma dúvida do espaço que no futuro próximo terão as energias renováveis e os biocombustíveis. Nas diversas gerações que nós chamamos e classificamos, de primeira, segunda, terceira ou quarta, novas matérias-primas, algas e tantas outras matérias-primas. O que é fundamental é conhecermos e nos apropriarmos, nesse momento, dessa biomassa extraordinária que é a cana-de-açúcar e outras matérias-primas. Eu acho que há um esforço muito grande das companhias, a Petrobras faz esse esforço, são recursos muito importantes, pilotados através do SEMPES e de diversas cooperações com universidades, instituições que estamos desenvolvendo, como a Embrapa e tantas outras instituições. Talvez sim, isso é um objeto de reflexão, o nosso país, pelo potencial que ele dispõe, talvez nós deveríamos explorar uma possibilidade de uma coordenação mais efetiva e, eu diria, uma liderança mais efetiva nesse grande esforço de nos posicionarmos como a vanguarda mundial na área dos biocombustíveis. Talvez, se melhorássemos uma capacidade de coordenação, nós pudéssemos antecipar tempos e resultados. Nós estamos comprometidos com essa agenda, etanol de lignocelulose, temos várias parcerias no sentido de posicionarmos nisso que pretendemos, obviamente, ocupar, que é uma posição de mercado relevante também nessa área, viu?
Nós chegamos ao final, nós estouramos o tempo completamente. Eu queria dar a oportunidade a eles de, como se diz em inglês, wrap up. Eu fiquei com medo de usar essas palavras em inglês, player, wrap up, retrofit, coffee break. Mas pendurando em um tema, que eu acho que talvez faltou. Todos falaram das suas estratégias, com mais ou menos detalhe no que consideram que são as principais inovações tecnológicas e as linhas de trabalho dessas inovações, mas a minha pergunta, e peço que a resposta seja muito breve, é sobre o papel de governos. Que papel tem governos na estratégia dessas 4 grandes companhias de energia e de petróleo, quando vem a relação entre biocombustíveis e petróleo? Eu preciso que as respostas sejam muito breves. Começando, Mark.
Okay, a good question at the end. I mean, clearly, having supportive government policies is incredibly important. We wouldn't be sitting here today at the Ethanol Summit here if there hadn't been a strong government push to develop biofuels in Brazil. We need rational policies that reward sustainable biofuels. Some of the new biofuels, as Vinod has said, they've got to be economic, but it takes time to make them economic, so sometimes you need help in the process. I think the message you've heard from all of us is that we are ready to do our bit. We're ready to develop technology, we're ready to invest, but we need to have supportive government policies to help us to get the job done.
In a very, very brief, what we need is stability of the rules of the game. When we are committed to invest billions of dollars, just making sure we are going to be bold, like Vinod said, it's very difficult to take that type of decision when the environment changes all the time. This is not the case in Brazil. It is a nice investing environment, and the main message is we want the role of the game to be stable in order to be able to invest.
I find it hard to add anything to what's been said. I mean, for me, it's stability, stability, stability. We can adapt our strategies and our investments to any environment, but what we can't do is take the kind of risk that Vinod was prompting us to do.